Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So this is a follow-up to my video about Atatiana Jefferson. She's the 28-year-old African-American woman who was shot and killed in her own home while she was playing video games with her nephew. Now, there have been some developments. The officer who shot and killed her has been arrested. He's been charged with murder. His name is Aaron Dean. He was quickly released after he was arrested on a $200,000 bond. And in his arrest warrant, it included an account of what happened from the perspective of the 8-year-old nephew. It says that the nephew told the forensic interviewer that he and his aunt were playing video games together at 2:30 a.m. Saturday when she heard noises outside of the home. Jefferson allegedly took her handgun from her purse and pointed it towards the window before she was shot. This is according to her 8-year-old nephew, at least in this arrest warrant. That's what it says. And then it says the 8-year-old saw his aunt fall to the ground and she was pronounced dead at 3:05 a.m. And you had statements from both the interim police chief and from the attorney representing the family. And this is what the police chief said. He said it makes sense that she would have a gun if she felt that she was being threatened or that someone was in the backyard. And then, the attorney said similar things. He said it's only appropriate that Miss Jefferson would have a gun. When you think somebody's prowling in the back at 2 in the morning, you need to arm yourself. That person could have a gun. So obviously it would make sense for somebody to defend their home. Like if you're in your house and you hear some noises by your window and you see lights, you're going to wonder what that is. You're going to fear for your safety. If this story is true, it still makes sense that somebody would have a gun to defend their home. You have the right to defend yourself when you're in your home from threats. Now, the attorney also pointed out this. He said, suddenly they're building the defense in the arrest warrant itself for the officer, alleging that Atatiana pointed a weapon out of the window. So it's like, even though they have charged this guy with murder, and I think that that's probably to placate the public, to calm people down, to pacify the people, when just to put on a show for the people. Because, they're building up the defense within this arrest warrant itself, basically trying to suggest that this officer feared for his life because this woman pointed a gun at him. And, they're going to say, well, they received this report and they were concerned. They thought it may be a burglar. They're going to say all of that stuff. They're going to talk about the front door being open and the side door being open. And they're going to use that to try to say, well, this officer acted in a reasonable fashion. Here you have somebody allegedly pointing a gun at him, and he's commanded them to show him her hands and all that kind of stuff. And she had a gun. So he acted within reason. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to argue. And, the fact that he was saying, show me your hands, to me, that indicates that she probably didn't have a gun at that. She may not have had a gun at that time. Because he would have, I would think that if he saw a gun, he would have said, a gun. Often in these police shootings and stuff, the police will shout, gun, gun. And the other officer didn't say anything about seeing a gun. And even this officer didn't say anything about, the officer that shot and killed his sister didn't say anything about a gun. But the police made sure to include a photo of a gun in that video release in order to build up this defense, to try to defend this killer. I don't trust a word that the police have to say, man. And, many of us saw that show about the Central Park situation in New York, where you had those young black men falsely charged with a crime and stuff like that, falsely charged with rape. Where they were forced to make certain statements, where they were pressured to make certain statements to the police. They were coerced into making confessions. And I wouldn't be surprised if these police did not put pressure on this young 8-year-old to make him issue such a statement. And I wonder if the family attorney was present. I would assume that the family attorney was present, and I would hope that he would have, adequately defended this young man to make sure he wasn't forced to say anything against his will or whatever, pressured into saying that she had a gun when she may not have pointed a gun at the window or anything like that. So, I'm going to continue to follow this story, continue to follow developments in this story. Well, let's continue going through this article. And again, I'll post this in the description box. I'm not showing the article because, I just don't want to deal with that rendering stuff again. Just bear with me one second. Yeah, and this is what the mayor said. She said she was in her own home. She was taken from her family in circumstances that are truly unthinkable. My question is why didn't this police officer just simply knock on the door or ring the doorbell? This was not a 911 call. This was, from what I've read, this wasn't even an emergency call. This was on the non-emergency line. The person that called did not say that, that there's definitely a burglar, that this is some dangerous situation. They didn't say any of that kind of stuff. They merely expressed concern. It was merely a call for a welfare check. But these police officers approached it as if this was some kind of situation where you had somebody that was threatening somebody or some kind of dangerous situation. They could have simply rung the doorbell, knocked on the door, and this woman would still be alive today, man. At the very least, this whole situation is reckless, it's negligent, and the police, this officer should be punished for committing this crime. It's just a shame that you had these police, low-key trying to defend this guy that committed this crime. And this points out this in this warrant. It says the warrant does not say Dean told police he saw a weapon. But it does say his partner could only see Jefferson's face in the window before Dean opened fire. So that alone tells you that this officer didn't act with some kind of thought of, oh, this woman is truly dangerous. Because it seems like the first thing that would be in that warrant, if that officer actually saw the gun, would be that he saw a gun. That's the first thing that these police would say, if they in fact did see a gun. Neither officer said they saw a gun. So that makes this whole story suspicious to me. It makes it questionable to me. So let me continue to go through this. So it says that Dean, that's the officer, was arrested at his attorney's office at 6 p.m. on Monday on a murder charge. He was freed and he posted bond, as I mentioned earlier. And it says that the attorney representing Dean said that the situation is a tragedy and that his client is sorry. Basically, they're going to suggest that this was some kind of tragic accident or whatever. And the thing is, this officer resigned, before he was arrested. He resigned before the police chief had an opportunity to fire him. And according to the reports, the police chief was going to fire him on that Monday. But he resigned ahead of time. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna leave it at that. Tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, subscribe. I will continue to follow this case. Every new development, I will talk about those developments and, share my thoughts about them. And I want to hear from you. What do you all think about this whole situation? Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content over here. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you.